Welcome back to Hot Topics Live podcast. I'm Kia. I'm a coach, and I'm here to use my skills to help you with a very big thing, dumping somebody. It's time, okay? The situation's done, the relationship's done. You don't want to talk to them anymore. You don't want to see them anymore. It's time for you to end that relationship. And today I have my boy with me. Fouad is back. You know you love him. You all watched the episode. You liked it. He's back again. We're going to talk about the male and female perspective on breaking up, do's and don'ts, tips, tricks, strategies, and some lessons that we may have learned along the way that you might like and learn something from too. So watch till the end because, as always, you don't want to miss anything. This one is special. This is a dating after divorce special episode of Hot Topics Live podcast. And if you're watching live, feel free to drop a comment. Make sure you share this with someone that might need this information. And if you have been a new subscriber, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I really love all your comments. So definitely leave me a comment. I'll be catching up on them next week. So you have time. And I respond to them as much as I can, each and every one. So thank you for always being sweet and kind in the comments. I appreciate that. And speaking of comments, if you drop a comment, this is what happens. Hi, Phil. Thanks for watching. You're going to love this one because I know a lot of my audience is male and I know you love me, but we're going to have an expert on being a man because he is a man. And he's going to talk about stuff that he knows more about and his experiences dealing with women. We had so much fun last time on our episode together. We're doing it again. You wanted it. I'm giving it to you. Fouad is back. He's an influencer. He's a photographer. He's just a good dude. He rides motorcycles. So anyway, and he loves guns. Come on. Okay. Let's bring him on.
4 motorcycles.
Hi. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me today. I really, it's a privilege to be back here and talking to you today. So I really appreciate it.
I'm so happy you're here. And before I forget, I want to shout out my sponsor. Thank you, Mental Health Code, for sponsoring this episode, as well as Eris Health. You can follow them both on Instagram at Mental Health Code and at Eris Health. I love them. They're doing really good things. And as a veteran, it's really important to me that we really focus on mental health. And lots of people are suffering over lots of things right now. And getting support is really, really important. So Mental Health Code, and you can support Eris Health on Instagram as well. All their information is in the description of this episode. And with that, let's get into it. So today we're talking about breakups.
Yeah. All right, let's go. Let's do it.
Okay. So if you don't know, okay, both of us had something in common, and that's why we're here together. We spent some time sort of experimenting in the dating world, both in real life or in the digital landscape. And we had lots of experiences putting ourselves out there and learning a lot. So we can bring a lot of information to you. And so we've had a lot of experiences and we're going to talk about it. I think it's really important to find out from you, what was the craziest breakup you've ever done?
That I
broke up with somebody.
I've only broken up twice with people. Now, this doesn't count. These like relationships. This doesn't count we're dating. We're not in a relationship. We cut it off. I'm not counting those. I'm counting out like relationships. I've had 2 breakups. One, I was 18 years old, joined the Navy. They joined the Navy. And that's just that wasn't going to work. No
Never.
So it was still hard. I think a lot of people don't realize that the person doing the dumping also goes through a lot of heartache too. I think it's easy when you're being dumped to just look at the other person as like the evil villain, and they could be at sometimes they could be. But the person, it can be hard. It can be a hard decision to make. And in that, I was 18 years old. I just joined the military, and I'm just like, okay, how are we? It's not realistic. It's just not. The second time, that one, I deeply cared about the person. However, there was two factors. Um, One was a level of disrespect to me and people that I knew. As far as there was and when I say disrespect, a lot of jealousy, and the jealousy turned into accusations I didn't like. Especially when I have friends that I've known for years, way longer than them, and I think that's wrong to come in and start dictating how. But that wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back. It was, at the time I held a very top secret clearance in the military with the work that I did, and I couldn't be around anybody that did drugs. And when I found out that they partook in some substance of the white powdery kind, I was like, yeah, that I had to cut it off. And that was a deal breaker right on the spot. It wasn't even like I had to think about it, like I didn't spend weeks thinking about it. Everything leading up to that was like, okay, that's it. We're done. Yeah. And then I found out that, within a month, they were in a relationship with the person they worked with, and they ended up marrying that person. Yeah. So, but sorry, they're not that crazy, but those are my two where I was the person who cut off the relationship.
Goodness. For me, I have had, I think, two relationships, like serious committed relationships. Like you said, not talking about people I was talking to or just seeing. Because as you know, I feel when I started out and dating, we had like sort of these steps, these levels of dating, right? So it would be like the talking phase, the seeing each other phase, the dating phase, then the boyfriend girlfriend phase, kind of what happened. And so I'm not talking about any of the phases before the boyfriend girlfriend phase. And for me, most of my relationships became like serious when I was younger. Or someone would become my boyfriend. Like I wouldn't have very many I didn't date multiply. I didn't date around. I just met someone. That was it. Like it was very simple.
I found you. You're it.
That's it. It's just we agree. It's all how it goes.
Sign
And
here.
yeah. And so that's how it be. And it would be like a relationship for like maybe 3-6 months or longer, usually longer. So I feel like I'm the eternal girlfriend, or fiance or wife, because I've been married twice. So but I think my biggest breakups are probably both of my marriages. I left both of them. And those were the hardest ones to leave. And I think because I'm such a girl who always believed in that sort of fairy tale of like, I thought my first love that I ever had, which I also broke up with. So I guess 3 really important relationships in my life I ended. And that one, I was going to the Navy and I actually broke up with him in boot camp. He actually thought that I broke up with him before in a letter that I sent. Remember snail mail?
Yeah, I remember.
So I wrote him a letter. Actually, I still like letters. So if you watch this and we're dating, write me a letter. So anyway, I wrote him a letter. I sent him a card. Oh no, wait, that's how I broke up with him. So before that, the summer before we broke up, it was before I went on a delayed enlistment into the military, right? And so I had left private school and I was at home, and he was a junior, I was a senior, so he was still at school. I was at home, I graduated, and it was the summer, and we were supposed to go see Aerosmith. So and so his mother didn't approve of me. When we'd been together for a year, we were really serious about each other. I thought I was gonna marry him. I did. It was so cute. I was like 17, 18 years old. And I actually have friends from high school that are still married. So it could have happened.
Okay.
I have a few sets of friends from high school, or they met someone who they met in college, or they're still together. So I truly believe that. And so his mom didn't approve of me after she saw me, we'll just say. And then it was devastating for me. It was like so heartbreaking. But his family decided that they were going to keep us apart. So they intercepted all of my letters and things of that. This is really sad, actually.
Wow.
Now that I'm talking, but it's a true story, actually. So, so then they intercepted all my letters. He never saw them, but he did get one. And the one he did get was the one where I was like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe this is over. Like, and so he took that as a breakup. So then school started for him. I was getting ready to leave. I had like 3 months before I was going to leave to the military. And he started dating another girl. And so by the time I got a chance to connect with him in person and talk to him and find out what was going on, he was seeing somebody new. And it was just unfortunate, is what I can say. But we ended up eventually getting back together, like 3 months later. Yeah, we ended up getting back together. But after that, I didn't trust it. So then I went to boot camp, and I kept like trying to connect with him, and I kept being told that he was with her. So I said, this is too difficult. I'm in boot camp. I can't focus on that anymore. I need to focus on my future. Yeah. And also on the way to boot camp, my recruiters, they had to come to Philly to pick me up because I enlisted from Harrisburg. If you know Pennsylvania, you know what I mean. And so they came to get me, and they were telling me on the way to Harrisburg, it's like a 2.5 hour drive. They were like, you can say goodbye to all the friends you had, because once you join the military, you're going to make all new friends. Your life is going to completely change. You're not going to keep those old friendships. They're probably going to disappear. And I was like aghast. Like, I was so heartbroken.
It's true. I mean, for me, it was true.
It was so true. It was so true. So while I was in boot camp, I was like, enough of this. The recruiters are right. I need to focus on my future. And so I wrote him a card, like an I'm sorry card. And I sent it to him, and I just broke up with him in that card. That was the first one. And then the other two, yeah, my first husband, that was sad because I really wanted to stay married, but it just didn't pan out. So that was a really harsh breakup. Like, we broke up in a huge fight, and then I moved out, and then we were divorced like a year later. And yeah, it sucked. But he did some really unfortunate, unreasonable things financially, that were really hard for me. And I was in a bad spot. Actually, I was really struggling with my transition out of the military too. He was also prior military. And that is why I would not be a trad wife anymore. I've tried it both ways. Having my own money was better. So that ended badly, and I had to rebuild my whole life again and re-enter the workforce and create my career from scratch again in the corporate world. And then the other one was my kid's dad, which was really sad. So the first one was like really dramatic. And then the second one was like really sad. I just had to tell him, but I did it in counseling. We were in counseling, and I was
Okay.
well, I mean, I called it. I basically was. He was like, maybe we shouldn't. You're in a different
Oh,
trajectory.
you called the divorce while in counseling, like in the
Yeah,
counseling
I mean,
office?
well, yeah, because we were in counseling, and then he was just all like, maybe you should.
Yeah.
You're going on with your life in another direction. I feel like, and maybe we shouldn't be together. And I was like, okay, like it was very like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But after that, I read this book, Conscious Uncoupling, and I was really determined for us to break up, and because we have kids, and a very loving and so that we could have a friendly
Sure.
relationship for the kids. And it was very difficult. We stayed in the house 2 years together. Breaking up was so
Yeah.
hard. That was
I
hard.
can only imagine that.
It was hard.
Yeah. It's
It was hard. But then we're friends now. So it worked.
and
Yeah.
with a child together, that's important
Mhm.
to, I have not been in that position because I don't have a child of my own, but you have to, I guess from my point of view, it's like even if you secretly don't like each other, for the kid's sake, it's like kind of have to be friends, and your lives may not be together, but for that child's sake, at least make it look peaceful. So,
Yeah, totally. That's
yeah.
kinda what it was
But if you're
like.
friends, it's even better, right? If you're friends, and it works even better. So
I think when you're breaking up, you can't really be friends right away. And I think you nailed it when you were like, the person who breaks up with you does go through something. They call it dumper's remorse in a way. And it's on a different timeline than the person who gets broken up with.
yeah,
Right. And I definitely had a lot of second thoughts ending the marriage to my kid's dad because we were together for 13 years. But I think it was necessary. And actually, he's engaged and he's getting married next year. And I'm
okay.
super excited for him. He met an amazing woman. I love her to pieces.
Yeah.
And I feel so blessed that she's awesome because he could have picked some skank, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, and of course, and you sharing a kid, you definitely that,
two kids.
yeah, two kids. I mean, that's definitely in the back of your mind. Who's about to enter my kid's life? So I'm sure I can understand how they need to pass your approval, even though you may not have a say. But
Mm-mm.
it's good if you have approval.
Yeah. Yeah, I would, because it makes everything more difficult and
Yeah,
more challenging,
it
but
does.
that's another episode for another day. I wanna stay on track.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so those are the harshest breakups for me, but I found the best way to break up in those difficult situations, like committed relationships where there were deep feelings involved, was to just be honest
Yeah.
and to be direct about it, but like kind.
Yeah. My my wild, crazy ones are more on the receiving end than me giving it. So, but
Okay, if you tell yours, I'll tell mine. I've
I
certainly
mean,
been
I
dumped.
guess, uh, well, I guess I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard because like eh, you know, each breakup was like you feel like that's the worst one, but then when you have several breakups, and I think for me, I've had three big breakups. I say two sometimes because the first one was when I was young. I was like 21. I don't know. It was big, but now looking back, I kind of laugh about it and it's like you're just kind of stupid. But but it was big at the time. It was big, but I think the two that had a huge effect on me was I reconnected with a high school somebody I knew from high school. So I was in the military, so I was deployed and came back home on leave and reconnected. I'm going to make this long story very short, or condensing it. Long story short is um, we dated. They knew I was going to propose. I was forward deployed at the time. I had 1 week off that I could travel anywhere in the world. and decided to come here, pick her up, take her to Hawaii on a trip. In that 1 week, it wasn't a surprise. She knew I was going to propose. Proposed, accepted, got to Hawaii. We're supposed to be in Hawaii for a week. I hadn't been in Hawaii a full 24 hours before it got called off and dumped in Hawaii.
Oh my God.
Yeah, without anything having happened. Like, there was no fight. There was nothing that led to it. Like, I wish I could say that. I wish I could be like, oh man, I wish, I regret having that fight with her. Like, it was nothing. It was just like, she was excited one moment, and the next, I was just like, and then the breakup turned into a fight. And to make again, I'm trying to condense the story. She ended up flying back home, and now I'm in Hawaii alone for the rest of my vacation. I wanted to go to Italy. This Hawaii thing was for her. Like, I really wanted to go to Italy because I was closer. I was already in the Middle East. I was like closer to Italy than Hawaii. Damn. Anyways, and yeah, that was pretty devastating. So I don't know. I remember that night I went to the hotel bar. I dropped her off at the airport because it was nice, and I went to the hotel bar. I remember the bartender looking at me like she's like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you so sad? And I tell her like what just happened, and she like felt so sorry for me, and she's like, oh my God, if that happened to me, like I'd jump out of a plane. I'm like, that's a great idea. Great. So I went to start skydiving like Hawaii that night. So the next day I was like, you know what? I'm going to do what she said, just jump out of a plane. And I went skydiving in North Shore, Hawaii the next morning, finished my trip alone. The embarrassing part is coming back home or going back to home base with all my peers who already knew I was going to go propose. So they're all like waiting for like excitement, like to hear some good news. And I don't know. Anyways, that's that one story. And then, of course, I know you and I have talked about it, and I know your viewers don't know. So yeah, I've been broken up in my last relationship about a year and a half now. That was pretty devastating. I think that one was probably the worst for me just because of the length of time we were together. I think it was my longest relationship, and the bond that was there. And I still feel it to this day. I still feel like I'm going through healing. I think it's pretty traumatic, but at the same time, and I don't know, I don't want to take away from where you want to gear this because I can go into lessons learned and stuff from it. But
no, I like lessons.
Yeah. But my ex, it was a long distance relationship, so there was that struggle already. This person was my person, and I was, because of the length of bond and what was said to me throughout that entire relationship, I truly believe that this person was it for me for the rest of my life. And when you have that, I never had that in my other relationships. My other relationship was like, we're going with the flow. We'll see what happens. But this was definitely like, this is the one. And the lessons learned from that is, what I've learned is that, like you said earlier, the dumpers are more, people are on a different trajectory when they're going through the dumping. Men and women especially dump differently and go through the emotions differently. And please, for any viewers, when I say men do this or women do this, please know that I'm speaking on average. I understand there are exceptions to the rule. I'm speaking strictly on average. Okay. Yes, I know that there are exceptions.
In other words, don't come for him.
Right. Right. Yeah, please don't attack me. But women, a lot of times women check out from relationships a lot earlier then they actually call it off. I think women start that grief process and thinking about the breakup far in advance, could be months in advance, and they kind of stick it out. And it's not malicious. A lot of this stuff, when I'm speaking about this, it sucks. It really sucks, and they can be painted like a villain, and you will hate them. But I like to give people the benefit of the doubt that a lot of this is just human nature of how we are, and a lot of things does happen subconsciously. And so most men will just break up with you on the spot, like I did. My breakup, I was just like on the spot. Like if I know that I can't be with you, I'm just gonna break up with you. There is no beating around the bush. I think women, maybe it's because they want to try, they give chances. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they want to see change. But I think that is a fallacy, because I think the mind is made up. And I think what happens is when a woman starts thinking about breaking up with you, everything after that is finding reasons to justify it. At least that's how I see it. It's start the nitpicking, okay, like how can I justify this breakup? It's not really given a chance, and then it happens. It finally happens. But the problem here is that the guy this entire time thinks everything's fine. This entire time, so a girl could start wanting out long before she calls it off, but that entire time up to the day, because for a guy, it's like, well, last week you were telling me you love me. Last week we were still saying good night to each other. The I love you is the thing. And then it's like it hits them in the wall. So they've had the dumper in this case has had the chance to grief it, think about it, marinate on it, come to a final decision, where the dumpee in this case is just like, whoa, what is going on? And their grief hasn't started yet. Like it just starts then. And that hurts, because you go into panic mode. You're not knowing what to do. And this can happen to women as well. I'm not saying this is exclusive to females, or I'm sorry, to females doing it to guys. But that is what happens if you've been thinking about it. And there's also, there's other variables there. If the person dumping has somebody lined up to replace you, and other factors, if there's cheating. There's breakups. There's so many different factors of breakups. What is the breakup about? Is it an argument? Is it not compatible financially or values? Is it cheating? Is it, I think those different factors determine what the future of that breakup will look like, whether you might get back together or not as well. And I would say that lessons learned from my end, there are things that I did right when I broke up. Excuse me. Things I did right, but then I felt bamboozled. And these lessons are more of, if you're in a breakup where, if you're the dumper, or I'm sorry, if you're the one who got dumped, the dumpee here, and you didn't sign up for this, you didn't want to get dumped. And you know that this isn't a breakup where you're in the wrong, where you like cheated on them or anything like that. Like, right, this is the breakup may be nothing where you've done something like that, right? Like a hard, no, we're not coming back from this. And you want them back. The best thing you can do is give them the gift of breakup. Give them the gift of breakup. Mm-hmm. If they break up with you, don't walk away. And I know that hurts, because instinct is when you get broken up with, all you want to do is fix it, especially us men. Like we're fixers, right? You want to fix the situation. And that is like the last thing you want to do. It backfires. It's not like in the movies. Okay. In the movies, the guy's fixing the problem and he's going to chase her to the airport with the flowers. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like, seriously, don't. Okay. Don't do that. So my breakup. Now my ex monkey branched to somebody else. That's what happened in my relationship. I was replaced, and the day I had suspected it. So the day that she called it off, I simply just said, okay. There was no begging from me. There was nothing. I said, okay, bye.
Don't beg. Don't beg.
Don't ever beg. Do not beg. Don't ever beg. So I walked away. I said, nope, I'm not going to do that. Here's where my mistakes were. My mistakes was getting back at her by jumping into something else as a rebound. Don't do that. Women can see right through that shit so fast. They know that you are doing that to get back at them, and that's not going to help you. And this is if you're trying to get back with them, right? If you're trying to help yourself get back with your person, don't do that.
Or at least have a chance to, right? Like, or at least have a chance to get back with them. You may not get back with them, but if you even want a chance at all, you got to listen to this advice.
Right. Especially if your partner, if you know your partner's stubborn and they're going to like take that as a like, oh, okay, well, you know, it's not going to work. The best thing you can do is walk away, do your own healing. Now, if you don't want to be back with them, that's a different story. You do whatever you want, and it is what it is. But if you do want them back, don't do that. That's what I did. Now, I cut all contact. There was no contact between me and them. They did reach out to me. This is where the mistakes are. More mistakes, lessons learned.
Yeah, lessons.
This is where I feel kind of bamboozled, because when they reached out, my first instinct is, okay, they want to make things right. They want to, you know, there was tears from her end, things like that. So I immediately dropped everything. The guy running to the airport with the flowers. That's what I did.
You fell for it.
I fell for it. I was breadcrumbed.
Oh.
This person didn't want to be with me. And the best advice here is there needs to be so much time for healing, because they're going through their emotions as well. They don't know what they want. And all you're doing is showing that person who disrespected you by dumping you, in this case, in my case, disrespect because they replaced me, that you're readily available. That at any minute they could, hey, how are you? And you're just going to jump to them.
Yeah, they check your temperature.
Right. And that,
guys do it too all the time.
Oh, guys do it too. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Because they're trying to see, you know, how accessible you are. And you really need to just cut all the contact. Cut it all off. Move on. Do your own thing for a while. Do some healing. Let them heal. Why? The reason they contacted me wasn't malicious. It is Breakup, but they're not doing it maliciously. It's a subconscious. They don't know they're doing it, but they truly did miss me. I know they did. I know they were hurting. I know that this breakup wasn't easy for them, because for the next 5 months, they still tried to contact me. Contacting me with with sending me either a song or something to remind her, and dummy me every time I fell for it. There was no intention of actually getting back to me. So my advice here is, if you want this person back, don't entertain anything that's not serious. Liking your pictures or watching your social media doesn't mean anything. Okay? Unless they say, hey, male or female here. It's easy for you to go, wow, you know, my ex is watching my things. Maybe they're interested. Maybe they're having second thoughts. No, unless they verbally come to you and say, hey, I'd like to work this out. I'm really sorry. Now, I did get an apology through email correspondence later, but it didn't mean anything either. It was just like, damage has been done. They've moved on. Nothing's fixed. We're not getting back together. Give them the gift of breakup. Your only chances of ever getting this person back is to just give them the gift of breakup and let them miss you and let them do their own thing. Now, if they, and you move on, if they come back, that's great. You may have moved on and not want them back.
That always happens to me. Every time they come back, and every time I'm already over it.
You will be over it 100%. You will have moved on. Now, I know me, and I'm thinking same thing. I think like, I don't want to move on. You know, I love this person. Why would I want to move on? But they don't want to be with you. That's the problem. They don't. And it's no different. At this point, after a breakup, it's no different than going up to somebody on the street or hitting on somebody and they say, hey, I'm not interested. And you keep pushing. We all know that that's like wrong.
It's it.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So leave it alone. The other question is if they did cheat or they monkey bread. Oh, same thing. It's cheating. Do you want this person back? And the person that you knew is no longer there. That's how I feel. For me, my breakup with my ex, I still miss that person. Okay. I still love that person, but that person doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Perfect example is if you ever watch the ending of Mrs. Doubtfire, they're all reminiscing about Mrs. Doubtfire, and they all start saying how they miss this, and the mom like comes to her senses and snaps and yells. She goes, she wasn't real. Right? So what you had is no longer real. It was real. You know, this person did love you, you know, great times, but that person's gone. And can it truly ever be the same? Can you ever trust that person again that they wouldn't do this to you? Now, I'm not here to say that relationships can't work in the future and people get back together. It happens all the time. But put yourself first and do your own healing. I didn't do that. I started off good. I remember I was proud of myself. I was like, it was good. But then emotions got to me. I did care about the person. And for a year, I told myself I would forgive this person. I would forgive this person. And then after the year passed and we did get in contact after that year, correspondence. And this was long before I met the person I'm in a relationship with now. And when I realized that they weren't coming back after I've given them so many chances, that I shut the door. I closed the door on that. I said, you know, it's too late. It's gone. But it's sad, you know, and I feel for anybody going through a breakup. But I want you to know also, like, I know that my ex, having dumped me the way she did, it's not easy for her. And I'll tell you what, because I used to be a military spy, so I'm not stupid. To this day, I know that she checks my social media, even though we're blocked on everything. Except Facebook. We're not blocked on Facebook. We're just not friends on Facebook. But we're blocked on everything. And when you, I remember back during the breakup, when she reached out to me and was upset that I was seeing other people, which doesn't make sense to me because you literally replaced me with somebody that you're still with. I don't know why that would upset you. But anyways, the things that they brought up, the things that they were hitting on, they couldn't have known unless it was from my Instagram stories, because they were specifically only on my Instagram. But she blocked me. I was like, so how do you see that stuff? She admitted, she goes, I use like some third party. My profile's public. You know, I am an Instagram influencer. My profile is public. Anybody can see it. So she was still watching me, and she admitted to that herself. Now, fast forward to now, when I say like I'm not stupid. So for the longest time, my Facebook stories are public. My Facebook profile is private, but my Facebook stories are public. And when you go to when you look at, you can see who watches your stories from your friends list. Mm-hmm. But then there's an other. You never know who that is. It's somebody who you're not friends with. They watched your story because it's public, but the Facebook doesn't tell you who it is. Interesting. And for the longest time, I suspected. I'm like, that's got to be my ex. That's got to be my ex.
It probably is.
No, I know it is now because my phone did a little Facebook glitch and it flashed who it was for a quick second. I was like, oh yeah, I knew it all along. It was through Facebook Messenger, not through the Facebook app on my desktop, through Facebook Messenger, and went through stories there. And it was a glitch. It was like a split-second glitch, and like my razor-sharp eyes just like caught. I was like, wait, that's it. And then it went away. I was like, it went back to other. I was like, oh yeah, I was right. So again, you know, and that's normal behavior. And I bring that to a point is that that's normal behavior because whether you're the dumper or the dumpy or whatever, you're going to be curious about your ex. You want to know what they're doing in their life. But I don't want people taking that as, oh, they must be thinking about me. They're having second thoughts. No, don't fall for that.
Yeah, don't do that. I mean, I don't block people. I don't do that. you know what? Sometimes I'll unfollow if I'm salty. but and that's only for a time. Eventually, like I'll follow you again and stuff, and it usually gives people the wrong idea when I follow you again. But that's part of my growth and healing, and saying, "Hey, I feel better about this." Like, and I'm not mad at being connected. But definitely that whole social media thing is a thing, because I know a lot of even younger girls, and I notice that I'm having a lot of younger people watching these podcasts now, which is great. That they will think that it means something. And it really doesn't. People are just curious. It doesn't mean anything. You just see it, smile that they're curious, and you keep on with your life and your growth and your healing. And I wanted to go back to something that you said earlier. You were talking about how women decide before, and then they're looking for like supporting evidence to do the breakup, right? Yeah. And in some cases, I do think that's true. But what I want to say is, a woman who has worked on healing and her attachment style and is a more secure in her connections with men will, when conflict resolution is not happening in a healthy way, and when things are just not like working out for her, she's unhappy, she's trying, what should happen is a woman should come to you without criticism and express her feelings about something that may not be working for her in that connection. And when she does that, with any luck, you will be able to receive that information and then act on it. So what she's doing a lot of times is vetting you. She's trying to see if the needle's going to move on what this change was, or this improvement she wanted in the relationship. For example, if we were dating, right? And I like flowers, but you never get them for me anymore. Okay.
Inflation.
Like the economy is really bad and flowers are expensive. However, I like them and I think I'm worth them, even in a bad economy. And I would come to you and say, right? And I would say something like, I really loved when you brought me flowers and I really miss it, And then I would hope that inside my mind that would be enough sometimes for you. Or you could say something more direct, like, I loved when you brought me flowers all the time. Will you bring them again? And then I'm going to wait, right? And like you did with your ex, you gave it a time frame, which I really loved. You gave it like a year, which is more than enough, like plenty of time. People would be like 3 months max, right? Maybe 6 months or something like that. But like, because time, you can't get that back. So you're giving this person, even after they broke up with you, a very huge gift of more of your time, giving them the opportunity to change their mind.
They didn't know
work
that.
things out.
I was
right, but yeah, that's within you. So that's a choice that you like. It's a gift. They don't know that they're receiving that gift even, but you're giving them a gift of time within yourself, right? To say, hey, if they come back around, I'm still into it. I do that all the time. Like if I had fun with someone, even if we were just like in the talk dating stage and it was really fun, and for some reason we ended up partying, I usually or something, for example, I was seeing a guy, right? And the last time I was seeing a guy, right? And I said I was seeing a guy, right? I was so happy, right? The last podcast episode we did. And so what happened with him is he started to fall off, in my opinion, like the way the energy. So I'm very good at reading energy and I can sense an energy shift. And then he started showing up less. And something happened in his life, long story short. And it was like our relationship was very new. And he was a little bit, he didn't want to get into all of that. Right. And so it started taking up more and more of his time. Right. And so we had to part, because that's not what I want. You have that to manage, but I am looking for a connection that is consistent. So you have just shown me that you're not consistent. I get it. Something happened. So I'm not opposed to you. We parted really well. And I gave him a time frame to get it together, and which I'm still dating other people and talking to other people. Obviously, I'm not putting my whole life on hold for someone. So, but if I'm still single, and he gets it together and he wants, I had a lot of fun with him, right? Like he gets it together. I'm still open to it. So there's a time frame. But if I meet someone and I'm dating someone else, that window has closed for them and that opportunity is lost, right? So that's a gift of time. And I love that you do that. And I think that's what women and sometimes even men will do if they're vetting and saying, okay, did this person hear me? Are they really going to take action on the things that I am feeling and wanting? And then a lot of times what happens is the communication is not really effective, or there's a disconnect, a miscommunication. And then the guy, and I'm saying this as a woman with a guy, right? Because that's what I am. And then the guy doesn't make that change or doesn't shift that behavior or whatever the case may be. And you've already been thinking about ending it, right? And you're hoping, like you said earlier, you give chances, right? Mm-hmm. So it is kind of like you're giving them a chance to like make this shift. And then when you see that that doesn't happen, because you've already been thinking about the breakup, then you're kind of like, okay, I have to end this. And you have to then do the breakup.
And I want to touch on that. And then I want to follow up with some more on some other lessons learned. For sure. The timeline thing was, so it's good to set boundaries. If you got dumped, take the power. Okay. If you were the dumper, they had the power to dump you. Okay. Whatever, but you can control the controllables, and that's what set your own boundaries. And for me, my boundary was, I'm sorry, but I don't want to be second choice. And by that, like, so yes, it was a year is a long time, but that was because I love this person. I was hoping that they would come to their senses. There was a moment where I was like, okay, I will forgive this person. Maybe this is a mistake that they're making in their life. They'll come to their senses and they'll choose me. I wanted them to choose me. But what I don't want is you go choose somebody else, then that doesn't work out, and then later, oh, I'm the second choice. Like, you're just gonna come back to me. That's horrible. That's disrespectful.
Pass.
So that was my boundary. You don't get to. You either choose me, and you had plenty of chances to choose me, and I brought that up. The other thing is, now if you break up amicably, that's the best situation, right? Especially if you are hoping to win them back. However, another thing that I did that I'm proud that I did was I didn't accept friendship. And I will always tell people, like, if you want your ex back, if you don't, like, again, this doesn't apply if you don't care and you want to move on and you just want to be friends. Do not accept friendship. Do not accept friendship. I couldn't be friends with my ex. I told him, I said, one, for me, I found it to be extremely disrespectful that you just you replaced me with another guy, and you're telling me you want to be friends. Like, are we really going to be friends? Like, you want me to just watch you live your life with somebody else? That's horrible. So I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know if they had thought that through. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they haven't thought that through. That's ridiculous. However, both men and women will do this when they are the ones dumping, is that they'll offer friendship. And what all they're trying to do, again, this isn't malicious, it's subconscious, it happens, it eases their pain. It's easy for them when people say what happened, like, oh, it's okay, we're friends,
it's incredibly selfish.
It is selfish. It paints them in a good light, like, oh, what happened? You guys break up? Oh, it's good. We're now friends. It's easy to say that. You stay friends with them, you're gonna be a friend forever. Okay, it's to lessen their pain. You remove yourself. Now, the longer you've had a bond, you've had a bond that's extremely long with this person, the more you immediately remove yourself out of the equation, the more they're going to sit in that pain. Now, obviously, every relationship is different. Divorces are different. I've never been in a divorce. I can't speak to that. That's and of course, every breakup is different. But on average, on these breakups, if somebody decides they just want to break up, maybe it's for no reason. Maybe they're scared. Maybe they have issues. Whatever it is, that person is going to miss you because they loved you at one point. And maybe you could speak to that. I'm sure the person you broke up with or you divorced, you still had a sense of missing that person. There's still a sense of that. I mean, it can be, it's not an easy thing to let go of somebody. It may be, and people do things in the moment as well. You know, and if you're a guy, listen, I know we think rationally. There's no amount of logic or rationale you can say to change a woman's mind. When a woman's made up her mind in that moment, okay, emotional creatures, okay, you know, women do act out of emotion. That comes from a nurturing nature, because you know you have to have that. And the downside is women do act on emotion, then think logic. The logic will come later. That rationale, you know, a woman will think about that, and if she does say, "Oh my God, you know, what did I do?" But you have to let them come to that to those terms, or that what's it? I'm trying to think of the word to say, that end result. You know, if they come to that, and they may never come to that, and that's okay too. You know, life will move on, and you just heal yourself. But what you don't want to do is stay friends. You want to remove yourself out of the equation because they dumped you. That's it. It's game over. You don't get half of me now. And as I told my ex, I said, we're not friends. We were in a relationship. I didn't sign up to be your friend from day one. You know, that's not what I signed up for. I've signed
That's
up.
a demotion.
Yeah, that's a demo. You just got
You're not
demoted.
demoting me. I went through that. I was like, oh, no, we're not being friends. And he really was like, he really was like,
And
why? Why not? And I said, because I know that I'm an asset.
Yeah.
And I don't get demoted.
Yeah.
So if you this is your choice, I'm out.
Yeah. And the other thing, you know, especially when you've replaced somebody, it's not even like, you know, I think I would have looked at it differently if we broke up and then weeks later, months later, they started dating. You know, they found somebody that's different. You know, like, hey, we've gone our separate ways. What can you do? Because for me, that's how it was. Even though it was so, like, within 2 weeks, I started seeing somebody. Another reason to not do that, no matter, for me, that person, I had not known that person until the breakup. But the optics, no matter how you look at it, the person who just dumped you will always forever. I mean, oh, my ex, you know, that's her thought. Like, how long have you known her? Like, was she in the picture? Like, did you have her lined up in case you know, I break up with you? That's the thoughts that are going to go with that person. And that's not going to help you reconcile later to get back. Because no matter, in my case, yeah, that person was not in the picture when we were dating. Definitely found him 2 weeks later and started dating, and completely new to me, but optically perceived, it's still gonna look bad on you. So don't jump into a rebound right away. Take some time for yourself, but do date. You know, but give it a month or two. Like, let some time pass, and then start dating. I do recommend people start dating. I think it does help in your healing process to move on. Because if you're just stuck in a rut thinking about your ex, that's not going to help you. You want to move on, and you want to discover new people who can remind you that, one, you're a great person, and there's somebody out there for you who's going to appreciate you, and that's going to help you. And you may actually find somebody you go, oh, you know, comparisons are going to happen. I know people don't like, you know, being compared to other people, but we're human beings. You're going to compare people to your exes, and vice versa, and all that. But in this case, it might be a good thing, because you're like, hey, this person, you know, doesn't have an annoying laugh like my ex, or I don't know, they wear. I'm just, that's not my case. I'm just making stuff up, you know, or maybe they smell better. I don't know. They dress the way you want them to. I don't know. Like, they click better. I don't know. They may like your hobbies. Yeah, and I think the hardest part of the breakup, in my opinion, again, the longer you've been with somebody, the more that there's like those inside jokes. There's those things you share with that person that you can't ever replicate. You can't replicate it, and it's kind of stuck in its own time capsule in that one part of your life that's there, you know. So
I agree with you. I mean, all good advice, definitely. And especially when coming out of a long-term relationship. But I have a question for you.
sure.
And then I'm gonna put you on the main screen. I'm
Okay.
gonna try something a little different, so don't
Oh.
freak out when that happens,
Okay.
okay? My question for you is, what about if you're in just dating someone and you've had a few dates or and you're in a situationship? How do you break up with someone? Like, what do you say? And also, the second part to that question is, what is the wrong way to end a situation?
I'll start with the wrong way.
Okay.
The wrong way is just ghosting somebody and cutting them off. Like that is absolutely the worst thing you can do to somebody. Just human being to another human being. Like don't treat people that way. I find that extremely disrespectful. And in today's world, it's so easy to just not answer or ghost somebody. I don't think that's the best way to dump somebody. Good ways is having that honest talk. It's a hard talk, but get them on the phone if you can't meet in person. I personally would rather do something like that in person. I think it's better. Um, you know, because again, you want to break up amicably. I think that's the best option. If you're if you're cutting off something that you just want to go your separate way, and there's no hard feelings from your end, there's nothing that they did wrong. It's not them, it's you. It's that situation. Then just have that hard conversation. But at least you did it respectfully, and maybe it can turn into a friendship. Because I've had that. I've had that where I've I've ended things with somebody and they became my friend because we were better off as friends and we hadn't built a bond. We hadn't been dating over a year. We haven't even been dating over 6 months. It's just it wasn't working out. And I thought of them more of as a friend. I could see them as a good friend. So that's what I would do in that situation is just have a talk. Now, if they don't want to ever see you and talk to you ever again after that, that's understandable. They're hurt, and just respect that and don't push, any further, but offer that and see where that goes. I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Sorry, my kid was in here to tell me to come and eat dinner, and I was
Oh, okay. I was like, where'd you go?
so I muted myself. But no, I tried something new today. So, you were on the main screen. You did a great job,
Oh, okay.
and, I loved that. So I think I'm gonna do more of that where I feature my guest on
Oh,
the
okay.
main screen by themselves. So that's kind of
Right.
something new that I did
First person on her show to go full main screen. Look at that. That's
without me.
exciting.
Yeah. So, I love that. I love that you said don't ghost because so my second breakup ever, I was ghosted and I was young and I was in the military. And of course, the person got deployed somewhere else. They transferred. Um and being a young girl, I totally expected the relationship to continue. And rather than tell me, he just kinda ghosted, and it was really crazy for me because he was such a, like, honest person, like, brutally, like, to the point honest person, that it was so shocking that he wouldn't be man enough to tell me. I actually was surprised that I dated a guy who wouldn't be man enough to just
Very cowardly.
it was terrible, but and he was older. Let's just say I was, like, 20 and he was, like, 26 maybe. So really, inappropriate for an older person to do, and it really bothered me to the point where I do not accept ghosting, and this is my advice. Don't accept ghosting. I don't accept it. If we've been talking, even been on a couple of dates, I am gonna address it. And I tell people straight up, I don't ghost. If they're ghosting me, I reach out. And a lot of people will be like, "Oh, if they withdraw their energy, just withdraw yours." Mhm. Yeah, that's true. But at some point, so I have a time frame and I haven't heard anything, which is what I feel is an appropriate amount of time for a response if we've been connecting. Um, and I will tell them, like, I will just say, hey, I haven't heard from you.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't ghost. So I will tell you goodbye. And then I think a lot less of that man because I feel like a man should be able to tell a woman respectfully that they don't think the relationship is sustainable. I had someone tell me that, right? And I could see it too. Okay. So it was cool. Like we parted ways so beautifully because he just texted me. And I guess when I was coming up, texting would have been insulting, an insulting way to break up with someone. In fact, the first person who broke up with me that I was in a more serious relationship after my divorce, the relationship that I had, actually, that was the one that asked me to be friends as well. Broke up with me in the text, and I was through the roof. Like I was like, "How dare you?" Like, but now times have changed, okay, and so you can do that, but like at least have the decency to be like, "Hey, I had fun. I don't see a future.
Yeah.
I don't think it's sustainable for because of this reason." And any woman or man, whichever you are, whichever who's doing this, should be respectful enough to accept the fact that you had the decency to be honest and not waste their time. Because there's a lot of breadcrumbers and time wasters out there too.
And this is both to ladies and gentlemen that are watching. We live in a different time, and your your digital signature is everywhere. If you're on dating apps, you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, and there are Facebook groups and social media pages where women are discussing the guys that they're dating in that region, in that area, and so do
Where are they? I
and
need
men have
one.
them too. Facebook has them. Like there's a Facebook group that says, "Are we dating the same girl?" And there's one that says, women have one that says, "Are we dating the same man?" And that's one to find cheaters, right? And a lot of them is because people are dating on dating apps and they want to vet with other women in the area, like who's dated this person. And also, it's not just dating. There's a few times when I've seen a guy share like, "Hey, anybody know about this person? Like, anybody dated this person?" Like, so they're vetting, they're asking. It's almost like a background check with other other men or other women who have dated you. And there's times when I've seen a guy say, "No, this was a very cool person, just didn't work out for us, but there's nothing wrong with them." But if you're somebody out there who is treating people like that, ghosting them, or maybe doing something worse, sleeping around and stuff, it's going to get back to you unless you don't have a digital signature anywhere, like, which is kind of hard to believe in today's world. Like everybody's online. um,
Mm.
just know that there are ways that women communicate, and just don't have that kind of reputation. Plus, it's just don't be a scumbag like that. But I like your tactic. Your tactic is good. I never thought about that. Like, oh, I got ghosted. No, you're reclaiming that power and saying, "No, hey, I haven't heard from you. Bye." Like, I really like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, that's how
Never
I
thought about
roll,
that.
man. I'm like,
Never
I
thought
don't
about
play
that.
those games, you know? I'm like, you're not it's rude. I find it very, very rude, and I have done it. I mean, there are times if you've watched Dating After Divorce, there's several episodes in this little limited series. I think this is somewhere like 13 or 14. I lost track. But you can go back watch them all on the playlist and stuff. And so I have said before that I don't do ghosting. I don't accept that. And if you're there are times where I think ghosting is appropriate and in cases of disrespect. Right. I feel like if it's abuse or disrespect involved, then or someone's clearly shows you they're crazy, like
Sure.
off the like they're unsafe.
Yeah,
Um, then
that's a
there's
different
times,
story. Yeah,
yeah.
and I think the only that is a good point, and I think the only other time ghosting isn't malicious is you set up a date, went on a date with somebody, And after that date, neither one contacted the other. It's kind of like it's mutual at that point. Like, it's kind of fizzled out. Like, okay, I would never take offense to that. Like, if I didn't hear from them, if I messaged them and I didn't hear from them, I wouldn't take it as ghosting. I'd just be like, okay, they're not interested. That's fine. I honestly wouldn't take that as offensive. But if we were like starting to talk and then suddenly you just stop, like, I find that very disrespectful. In my opinion, as far as the whole ghosting thing. People don't like confrontation. I think we live in a world where people hate confrontation, but I find that extremely. I don't like confrontation either. Nobody likes it, but you have to stop being a coward and confront. That's part of life. You confront hardships, and part of those hardships is having to deal with difficult conversations sometimes. And if you're the one who is cutting things, then at least have the decency to confront and be respectful in the way you are about to break somebody's heart, or emotion. Maybe there's no love there or something, but it's still an emotional thing. Rejection is an emotional thing. It's going to affect anybody. At least do it in a way where you can lessen the pain of that other person and gives them reassurance and something. And yeah, it's just really crummy.
It is. But you know what? Speaking of breakups are all about rejection. And I think it's really critical that people get good. If you're dating, especially if you're dating after a long-term relationship like you, or after a divorce like me, right? Like, you need to get, and that's one of the things I learned in this last year of dating, really good at rejecting and being rejected. Because I've certainly rejected lots of people, but I've been rejected several times as well. And you have to get good at it. You know what I mean?
Fun fact, since you said that. Fun fact.
What?
I said fun fact since you said I've done a lot of the rejecting. On average, more women reject men than the other way around. More women initiate divorces or breakups than the guys do. And I think a lot of that has to do, again, this is on average, people. A lot of that has to do with men. This is what men suffer in silence. I don't know if people know that, but like a man will be in a toxic relationship and sit there and be like, okay, I can sit this out. I can do this. I can keep doing this, right? And it may not be the best relationship for them, but they're so. This is why I say men are the romantics and women aren't. I know you hate me saying that, but men will sit it out, and they will, and it's true. I do believe that because I know I also do that. And when I read this study, I was like, oh man, that's so true. Women, on the other hand, don't. They're not gonna sit through any BS. They'll give chances, stuff. But and women will initiate divorces more than men do. That's not to say that men don't. I'm saying on average more. So I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting, and I have the answer to that. I know why that is. Okay.
Well, yeah, of course. I'm not saying there's no legit reason. I'm not saying that at all. Definitely a legitimate reason. Nobody should be in a situation they shouldn't be in or they're uncomfortable with. It's part of life. But as far as post breakup, everybody heals differently. I know my relationship before my last breakup, I think it took me about 2 years. I didn't get into my last serious relationship that I broke up with till 3 years after the one before it. And then, but it took 1 year was just, dating and finding that person, but it took 2 years to heal from it. And I find myself even now with me being in a new relationship, and my partner knows, she knows I'm still healing. And, I'm very transparent with her, but it does still affect me to this day. And I feel like over time, and I think a lot of that has to do with my bond with my previous relationship is longer than my current one. And I'm hoping that over time, the scales tip differently, right? As I build a stronger bond with the person I'm with now, it tips that scale. And I know that I'm not comfortable with certain ideas or saying certain things because I remember saying it to another person before or being said to me, and it's hard to hear it now. And that's an unfair thing. In my whole life, every time I've ever broken up or been broken up with, I've always said, the next person I date, that's a clean slate. I'll never take it out on them. They have nothing to do with this. It's not fair to them. And that's always been true for me. And I feel guilty now because this is the first time where I don't, not that I'm treating them any different or taking it out on them, but for the first time, I do feel like I carry some of that baggage from my last relationship. There's things that I'm still not comfortable hearing. It's scary to me for somebody to tell me you're the love of my life. Like, if I heard that, it'd be hard for me to accept that right at this moment. Maybe I'll ease into that and I'll believe it and I'll take it more seriously. If so, and she knows this. We've had this chat. Because I'm transparent and again, I'm healing. But those were the things that were always said to me in my last relationship, and I was so like, okay, wow, like this is real. And anyways, what I'm trying to say is that hurt. It may take you 6 months and you move on and you don't feel anything, and sometimes it could take longer to heal from a relationship. But don't let that healing. You can still heal and move on. And you should and go have fun, and enjoy life. And
You're right. You don't have to be fully healed. I mean, you should take time to yourself to heal after you've been in a long-term relationship, but you don't have to be fully healed to move on. In fact, ideally, you will meet a person who's also on a healing journey, and there's only so much healing you can do by yourself. You need to come together with someone and then you go forward, right? And you help each other heal a lot in that journey too. And I think it's really beautiful.
well,
So shout
you
out to Audrey.
Yeah. Well, a YouTuber recently I was watching, and they said something that I laughed about. They said your healing is 60% you. Okay, it's on you. There's 30% that is your new partner that will help in your healing, right? Because you have to have that new partner move you on, and then 10% you're screwed. That's stuck with you the rest of your life. Like, you're traumatized and there's no help for that. But that 60% is on you to heal and move on. And I just thought that was really funny because there's truth to that.
Talking to you about this stuff always reminds me, and I know I'm raising sons, so I see it in them too, how sweet men can be and how beneficial they can be in our lives. Because I think you're right. I know that the statistics say that women do initiate divorces and things more, which is true. And I also know that the statistics say that women live longer and have happier lives single, right?
Because we're
I
suffering
don't
in
know.
silence.
Yeah, and men suffer in silence. It's true. But I do believe that there are ways, if we learn them, and I've been studying them certainly for the last few years since my divorce, to create happier and more fulfilled relationships with each other when we do things like you said, when we are willing to confront our fears and our wounding, and we're willing to give chances to people, new people, and to do some of our healing work with them, and trying to make each relationship, like, take the lessons we learned from the past breakup and into the new relationship and try to make that relationship better. There's ways to talk to each other and communicate and resolve conflict, and to appreciate and admire each other, right? And to adore each other, and in ways that can make the new relationship a million times better than the one before. So I think it's really important that we don't give up, that we keep trying, that I will still be dating, and there'll be more episodes of dating after divorce.
No, that's
You
a very what you just said, very valid, because with breakups and heartache, what ends up happening is you end up having toxic men and women who go through this toxic where they just start hating, dating, or hating women, right? Or women, I hear this all the time from men and women, like, oh, I hate all guys. Guys are this, guys are like, I was like, well, not all guys are like that, okay? Or not all women are like this, but I hear it from both sides. And
Mhm.
so they get in this toxic mindset. talking crap about the other gender that they're dating, and it's like, okay, maybe just reevaluate. Maybe you've done something wrong in who you're attracting or who you're attracted to. Maybe try something different. Maybe start meeting people at different places. We live in the world of the internet. Like there's meetup groups. There's all kinds of things you can do now. Maybe if you've always dated somebody of, I don't know, what's the right word? Of a certain type, maybe that's just not working for you. Maybe try to date somebody completely different, opposite. I know for me, my girlfriend now is nothing like my ex. Completely opposite, right? And I don't know if opposite is the right word, but nothing like her. Whereas, and this is in features and also in personality. Okay. Whereas my ex, I can't speak to the guy, and this is nothing against him. I don't know him. I don't know what his personality is, but in features, definitely me. Like it's almost like a carbon copy, a version of me. So she has a type, and that's interesting. So my point here is maybe go outside of your type. Maybe you find love or affection or whatever you want to call it, romance, in somebody completely different. It might really change things for you. And it's funny because I don't like to admit this out loud, but Audrey will laugh. I got hooked on Love is Blind recently. I've been watching that shit. I hate reality shows. I really do. And I hate dating reality shows. I think they're stupid. And I was like, I'll give this a watch. And then I got sucked into it. But in that show, people are dating people outside of their demographic and their type and everything. Yeah. And I find that very interesting. And especially for the ones that end up together, I'm like, oh wow, you like totally dated somebody completely not your type. But emotionally they were, on a deeper level. So anyway, sorry.
Well, I mean, sometimes you just have to go out of your comfort zone. I did that. That last guy I was dating was not my type. And I think part of it too was like getting to that point where like, okay, this is starting to get a little bit serious. But this is not my type. And getting over that, like step out of your comfort zone. We had some really great experiences that I wouldn't have had if after our first date, I didn't go, you know what? That person's really cool. I like the way they think. I like how they present themselves, but they just don't look like the normal person I go out with, right? They're not the same build. And then I had to be like, wow, this is a growth moment, Kia. You're gonna grow a little bit and date someone different.
I want to, and I don't know if this is true. This is my opinion. I wonder if there's a study on that. I wonder if women are more likely to date outside their type than men are. And and I say that because men, we go off of features, like facial features, like body type, like that first. Mm-hmm. Whereas women are much more deeper in who the hell are you than anything. And I say that because I dated a girl last year, looks wise, like totally my type, but she was completely not my type. She's super religious. She was very Catholic. And for her, I was the first person she's ever dated that's not outside of her religion. The first person ever. So she was trying something different. From her end, she was going out. She's like, look, I've tried dating strictly Catholic because she's very religious and she understands that's very important to her. So she has always said, how's this going to work with anybody else? But she took a chance with me. Didn't work out. But from my end, I'm not a religious person. I'm completely opposite. Like I'm not religious at all. But I'm just being honest here. From a guy's brain, I'm like, we'll work that out. Like, she looks good. I'll date her. We'll work all that details out later.
I think he's totally a guy,
right? Like, if I need to become Catholic, and I remember on the first date, I was like, I just want you to know I've been baptized when I was a baby. Like, am I in? Like, am I good? But she, but for her, she was dating outside, and I thought about it, I was like, but the point here is that date outside of your comfort zone. She was taking a risk. She was taking a chance, and that was to me, I was like, that's a beautiful thing that you're doing. You know, what you have been doing hasn't worked for you. And she was really wanting to find somebody to marry someday. She was, you know, she was on that track, and she took a chance, and that's credit for that. So.
Yeah, it's really cool. You know what? I did an episode a few summers ago. I don't know if this is still a trend, but it was then. It was called open cast dating, like open casting. And
Okay.
so I think in that the whole principle was basically like you're casting as if it's for like a show or a reality
Okay.
show or
Okay.
something. And so you're auditioning people like, but of all types to see who could fit that
Yeah.
role of boyfriend or girlfriend. And I think that's in line with kind of what you're saying is like step out of your comfort zone and give people that you normally wouldn't date a chance. And also, it's not just in looks, too, especially for the ladies. It is in how they show up as a man, because a lot of women out here, real tea, are just dating the same personality type in a different body. And then they're wondering why it's like toxic or it's the same outcome when you really have to like do some more internal work and also date something different and give other types of men a chance, so that you might surprise yourself and find something that is really amazing for you that you didn't expect. And that's actually kind of a gift.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's very fascinating. I I don't know. I don't know which gender goes out of their comfort zone, and so I would like to think it's women that do that more than men. Personally, that's just my
We'll
opinion.
have to look into it.
Yeah, I don't that. I don't know. Women in that regard, like I said, because again, we've talked about this before. Is attraction. You know, last time we talked, but you know, looks for a guy is in the top three, whereas for women it's like down in six. You know, women are looking at other values and characteristics that they put above looks.
I
Um,
mean, looks are pretty high on my list,
but
but
right, but I'm saying is on average, like women on average, they will go past. Looks aren't as important to them as far as like other characteristics
mhm,
on average. Looks is always going to be in the top 10
yeah.
for both. like you have to be attracted.
You
You have to
have
be
to be
attracted.
attracted, yeah.
Right.
So,
Um,
but I think women can sort of, I think, okay, I think this is what it is. You tell me if I'm wrong. Like, I think I've hit on something. I think women are more capable of talking themselves into liking someone
yeah.
that they don't necessarily love their look immediately, but they have, like you said, they have other characteristics. So they'll kind of almost gaslight themselves into liking this person.
I
Even though, right, I think women are more likely to do that,
I
whereas if
agree with
I'm
that
looking at a woman
theory.
and she's, like, hideous to him, he's not touching her. He's like, "I'm not moving
No,
forward."
I agree with that theory.
Yeah.
I do. And that's and I say this because as a guy, obviously, uh, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but like
Mhm.
a lot of times in my life, I've seen where I'm like, it's my own opinion, but I'll see a woman, I'm like, how did she end up with that guy? Like, there's just completely different caliber.
What happened?
And in my opinion, I'm like, women go past the looks, like they do, because he may treat her like a princess. He
Like a
may do everything.
goddamn queen.
Yeah, yeah. Like he may have he makes her laugh. He makes her like. I don't know. I don't know the guy. All right, and this is nothing
Mhm.
against that person, but
Yeah.
from just if you posted a picture of this person, that person, I say, and you said, would these people would ever get together? I'd be like, no, there's no way. But they are together, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it is what it is, but I see that more in my perspective with women with guys that I think like but not the other way around, where guys are okay with that. Now that's not to say that sometimes I see guys that are mismatched. I'm like, how did you guys end up together? But like I still remember everybody's got a different type. That's fine. That's completely okay. Because when you see that, a lot of times the only reason it stands out is because it's outside I don't want to say the norm, but the like what we
A
all see.
societal norm.
Like there's a baseline I think we
Mhm.
like see, and then when you see that, it's like outside the norm. Like I remember in the Navy, I had a friend from Jamaica, and this guy was a chiseled. This guy never worked out a day of his life, but he was one of those like island black guys who was just like chiseled his whole life, and he just takes his shirt off and he's just jacked. Like I was like, dude, I don't know what genetics, like what bananas, what kind of bananas are you guys eating down there? Like I don't know, but he would like, but he looked like he came off of a Mr. Universe like competition show, having never worked out in his life, but he liked the women and their body types are nothing like the complete opposite. And that was his thing. That was his type. Like, hey, more power to you, you know? And but it was just for me, I think that was my first time I ever saw that. Like, I always thought like looking at magazines and stuff, like, you know, chiseled hunk with like a chiseled, you know, female or like, you know, like a Sports Illustrated, you know, bikini. Like that's just the image that I had in my head. I'm not saying that that is right. That's just, you know, what you get shoved down your head and you expect that. So it was weird.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's some famous internet couples that people are always like, "Oh my gosh," and they're famous because they're like sort of
Opposites, yeah, complete
you would say
opposite.
opposite, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I definitely feel that, and I think it's amazing that people can look past their differences and find love together and make it work. So it's beautiful. But I have one last question for you because we've been talking for a
Okay.
while. And and I know this is gonna be a long answer. So I know this is gonna be a kind of long episode
Uh,
actually. But how since we're talking about breakups, right? And we've given some ideas on how to break up from big relationships and small relationships, right? Um, but since we're talking about breaking up and we mentioned rejection, how do you cope with the rejection after a breakup?
I think coping with a rejection when you are asking somebody out is harsher than being dumped, in my opinion. This is
Really?
for me. This is personal to me. Um, because there's nothing to base it off of. Like when you're in a relationship, you can point to, okay, maybe I made mistakes here or there. You're right. The relationship has been going on. You got dumped because there was conflict, right? So I can see that. Like you can make a justification to it. But when you are just clean slate, you know, and you're trying to have your chance with somebody and rejected, I think it just hurts. It stings a little harder because they don't know you. It's kind of like, you know, you don't even get a chance, you know. How do you cope with that? Um, you can't take it personal when you're in the dating market. Like you just can't take that personal. You know, everybody's got a type. Everybody's got a different personality type and things like that. You know, they don't they don't want to date you. It's okay. Uh, that's what I've learned in my life. Like I just can't take that personal. It is what it is. Hey, but when you date enough, if we're speaking from a dating market, if you date enough, then eventually you realize that there are people for you, and you'll realize, hey, this is okay if I got rejected here because I know there's people out there that do like me and are fitting for me. So it becomes a wash. Now, rejection from a breakup, in my case, I did get monkey branch, so there was somebody else lined up that took my place. It's hard not to compare and say, hey, what has this person got that I don't got? Why is this person better than me? Um, I think that affects everybody differently depending on their their insecurities and or securities, I guess, in themselves, and that plays a huge factor. So it's case by case. I mean, in this case, the rejection, I didn't feel I never looked at it as what does this guy got on me. I never looked at it that way, and that's only because I took one picture, seeing my ex after the breakup, and seeing her right away with that other person. It wasn't a threat to me, just because I didn't see him as a threat. I was like, whatever, Now, had he been like Tom Cruise, I'd be like, okay, I get it, or insert any celebrity or somebody, it doesn't have to be, but Henry Cavill, okay, like somebody, be like, I get it, I'll just put my head between my tails, and but in this case, it was kind of like, I was more like, really? Okay, like whatever. Like I don't know. I couldn't take offense to it, honestly. I was more offended of just the breakup and how it happened.
Yeah.
I thought that was that rejection was harsher than. So there's no comparison, and again, one, don't compare yourself. Don't ever do that, because that's easy to wrap yourself into that.
Totally.
The whole point is to heal, not to create new issues for you to like on. Know that person has nothing to do with you, and it's not a matter of they're better than you or anything. Your partner who rejected you, dumped you, whatever, they have their own needs, and you just can't take it. It feels personal, but it's not personal. Don't hold anything against that new person. That new person has nothing to do with the situation. They're a person with an opportunity to date the person who just dumped you, and they're taking their opportunity. Like in the case of my ex, like I can't blame the guy who wants to date her. I wanted to date her too, so I get it. I mean, mad at the guy. I mean, he has nothing to do with this. So don't ever take it. And it's the same.
Or the girl.
And the girl. Mm-hmm. Like, it's the same when somebody. And I know I'm sorry, I'm digressing here. Like it's the same if your partner cheats on you. Don't be mad at the person they cheated with you on. They have nothing to do with this. It's your partner who did the cheating, right?
Girls do that all the time. This is like my biggest pet peeve of women, because there's no, like, they get mad at the other woman, but they want the man back. But they get mad at the other woman. Like, honey, no, it's him.
Makes no logical sense. The other person is a person who found an opportunity to be with your man, who they found as great as you find him, and they wanted to be with him or date him or sleep with him, whatever. But now it's one thing if they know that you're together or something like that. I can see you like, kind of being hurt. But at the end, it's your partner who's at fault, who broke your vow, your commitment, or whatever. But yeah, as far as the rejection, don't compare. Don't think of it as a rejection. Just think of it as it's just not a compatibility. Okay, it's just not compatible at the moment, and it could be temporary. Like, again, because couples do get back. You have, and the longer you've been in a relationship, the 4 year, 5 years, some people are 8 years in and they break up. You have to know that person wasn't with you for 8 years for nothing. That there was love there, and that this is not a rejection. This is like an incompatibility. And you can't look at it as like what they rejected you the last 8 years and just stuck along with you. That doesn't work that way. So you have to remember that person does love you, and they probably still do. They may not be in love with you, but they do love you. And I know that for sure about my ex. I know that she still loves me, because I'm sorry, but you don't go spying on my social media if you didn't care at some point.
That's true.
Because if you're happy, I mean, and she's happy with it, but there is a care. There's a caring there.
A curiosity.
Yeah. I'm important enough that you take the time out to go look at my profile out of curiosity. Because there was love there. We had love. And so you have to remember that. And in order for you not to get into that rejection cycle, you have to remember that person who dumped you, it was hard for them too. Mm-hmm. That they did love you at one point, and they may still love you. And some people, they may never reach out to you out of fear, out of being scared. I know some people are like that, and it's a shame. That does not mean don't play that in your head. Oh, well, they're just too scared to reach out, so I'm gonna reach out. Do not reach out. No contact. You are radio silent. If they choose you, let them choose you. Don't go chasing them. Don't ever chase them back. Yeah, don't chase them. Let them, and if they want to sit with that hurt, maybe they do want you back. Some people that dump will sit through that remorse, and they will be afraid to ever reach out because they're, especially if they, well, one, if they're seeing you with somebody else, they don't want to be rejected. They don't want to take that risk and be rejected. One, because they already know you're somebody else, they're going to be rejected. Or maybe you're not with somebody else. They're still going to feel that fear. Women are a little more sly. Women on average will never come out and say, "Oh, I miss you. Let's get back together." They'll test the waters with a, "Hey, how's it going?" Like, to see what your feedback is.
No one wants to do that. No one wants to be like, I miss you. Let's get back together.
Right.
No one wants to put themselves out there
Nobody wants
like
to,
that for that reject. That's harsh. I mean, people do it, but it's rare, I think.
And if you're somebody who wants your partner back and they do reach out with that, don't fall into the breadcrumb. Don't ghost them. Because if the point is to get them back, don't ghost them, because then they'll just give up and they'll move on. If you do want them back, answer respectfully and say, "Hey," but don't be like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" Like, and then jump into that, like that. And that was my mistake at the time when I felt breadcrumbed. I jumped right into thinking that she wanted me back. But you test the waters too, and just be very neutral. Hey, how's it going? Oh, it's been going great. Hope you're doing well. Leave it at that, right? Be very neutral.
Also, a good point I think that we should make in this topic is that you need to be in a different place than you were when the breakup happened. That shows growth. So when you're talking to them again, it's more like you are chill, like you're good, like you're not angry, you're not upset, you're not hopeful, you're nothing. Like you said, you're neutral, and you start that dialogue and then you build on the dialogue, basically.
Yeah.
And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I always like this saying that we say in some communities that I roll in, and that is, if it's meant for you, it can't pass you by. If this person's meant to be in your life, they'll come back and be in it. Whoever's meant to be in your life will find their way into your life and you into theirs. And if it's not meant for you, there's nothing you're going to be able to do to make it be that way. So let them go.
And there's nothing wrong with if they're pushing for more chatter. It's back to the dating thing. You're not looking for a pen pal. If they're pushing for more chatter, just simply say, "Look, if you'd like to meet up, I would like to meet up. But if you're not, then, I hope you have a good day." Be respectful. But yes, you are very correct. You have to be in a different place in your life, because nobody's going to want to go back to what they left. They left you for a reason at a certain point. They're not trying to get back to that. If they see you having progressed and moved on, or in a different place in your life, they may feel like they're missing out. They want to be a part of that. They're like, "Oh man, why did I let go of this great person? Look where they're at now in life." And I know that's kind of shitty, because they should have been with you through that growth. But hey, it happens.
Sometimes maybe there's a reason for that growth, and it had to happen that way for both of you.
True too. Yeah, that's extremely true. But yeah, don't, it's the one thing is, because if you do the chasing, if you do take that, and it's gonna make you relive that breakup all over again. And that happened to me. When it's almost like you're back to day one of being broken up. You're rejected all over again. So when you feel like, "Oh, they're wanting me, they're missing me, here's my chance," and you put yourself out there, because they didn't put themselves out there. They're just like testing the waters, but you're not testing the water. You're taking it as, "Oh, they're ready for me." What's going to happen is they're going to say no, and that you're going to take that rejection, and it's going to, I swear to God, it feels like all the healing that you did just got wiped out, because now you're rejected all over again by the person that you are still hurt by, and you're still missing the relationship and stuff. So protect yourself, put yourself first. They're not thinking about your well-being. They broke up with you because they put themselves first. You put yourself first. Okay, there's nothing wrong with putting yourself first, but they did, and you need to do the same, because they didn't put the relationship first. Again, different factors, right? I mean, we're talking about clean breakups that didn't, like, there was no fault of each other's own, right? There's no cheating or things like that. That's what I'm talking about. If you're somebody who got broken up with because you did something wrong and you're at fault, the only thing you can do after that is write an email, send a letter, something, an apology. Do apologize, but leave it at that. Like, they can either accept the apology or not, but don't expect more. Like that, you've said your piece, you've apologized, let them, decide moving on, and you remove yourself out of their life. But that's the only time you should ever contact them ever. My ex, the one that I left, that I told you about, the drug and thing, 3 years after we had been split, she reached out to me with a heartfelt email, with an apology, very long email. Keep in mind, this person is, she's married, she's moved on, I'm in a different place, and I still wasn't ready for that apology. I was very harsh to her because I remembered being, I think I left out a part. I was cheated on as well by that. So there was that too, towards the end. So I was very harsh to her back in my response. And 6 years later, when I'm in my past relationship, she tried to reach out again. And at this moment in my life, I felt like, it's so far removed. I was like, okay, Olive Branch, she lives across the country, like, but I knew what she wanted was a clear conscience. She wanted to be able to go on through life with, like, not like, knowing that I didn't have any hate towards her. I can tell that's what she wanted. So I was ready to give that to her. Sadly, my ex did not like the idea that an ex of mine was reaching out to me, even though I was transparent about it. I was like, hey, so and so reached out, she's married. Anyways, it caused conflict there, and I blocked that person, which I didn't like. I didn't like that I was forced to block that person. That's not, I didn't want to do that. And now that I've left that relationship, I know that I've tried to reach out to apologize myself now for having blocked her and removed her. And no. And I can respect that. She doesn't want to have anything to do with it anymore. And I didn't take any offense to that. I understand,
It was nice of you to try to apologize, though.
I did. I wanted to apologize for blocking her and being rude. And at the time, I took the anger out on her for being forced to block her. It was kind of weird. It's like, and it was mostly because she did the same thing. It's fun. Here's the funny thing is, people, just listen. Don't be threatened by somebody's ex from a long time ago if it's so far removed. This isn't like a year ago. This isn't 2 years ago. Okay, it's far removed, and especially if they're moved on, they're married. My ex, the one that reached out to me, when we were together, she threw a fit. Remember, I told you, like, the accusations and stuff. There was a lot of disrespect because friends that I had, women that were friends of mine and stuff, and she just threw accusations. Like, and I was like, and I'm a very loyal person to my partner, so it really hurt me. And I remember with her, an ex had reached out to me and she threw a fit. So I was mad now that 6 years later she sees me with somebody and she's reaching out. I'm like, didn't you get mad when another ex reached out to
That's a
me,
good point.
like, aren't you doing the same thing? Like you want me to respect this, but you. So you see what I'm saying? And then the cycle repeats. The cycle repeats. My ex, who has a boyfriend, not somebody she's just dating, a boyfriend for 5 months, was reaching out to me. And I remember telling her,
just reach out to you after.
I remember telling her, because she sent me a birthday gift. She sent me a song at one point, sent me a picture reminiscent of us.
That's a little bit extra.
And she admitted to this. She said, I don't want to lose you. I don't know how to live without you. Those were words that she said. I believe that, but you dumped me. I didn't dump you. And I had to hold my boundary. Okay? I had boundaries and I said no. But at the same time, you have somebody at night by your bedside who's not me. You have a boyfriend. And while you have a boyfriend, you are texting your ex.
And sending him a birthday gift.
And sending me a birthday gift, which I appreciated because it was something I needed from Canada. And so
okay, but no, I'm sorry. It's inappropriate.
So all I could think is, didn't you get mad at me when an ex reached out to me? Like, that's interesting. So I found that very interesting. And it's wrong because now it's a double standard. I know we're going off very off, but what anybody can take from this is, please don't get mad at your partner. Please don't be so insecure and scared of an ex reaching out. You have to understand, the older you get, those relationships still have maybe a special place in your heart, or you're not going to forget the exes that you've been with. Like, it'd be silly to forget that now, but they also don't mean what they used to mean. Sometimes people do want that olive branch. Some people do want to reconcile, and it may be it's sometimes people want that gift of the breakup friendship to ease the pain, right? That's what they wanted then, but you didn't give it to them then. Now it's like 3 years later, and maybe you're ready to now be like, okay, there's peace between us. For some people, they want that on their conscience. They want to clear the air. Some people don't want to go to their grave having somebody having animosity to them. That was a rare occasion where, like I said, 6 years later, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do that. I can't see that with my current ex. Maybe in 6 years, maybe if that opportunity happens, I may forgive, but I'm not a forgiving person. Like, I am not. I say that, but 6 years removed, I was being forgiving to the person, but at the moment, I'm not. I'm like, yeah, I'm not forgiving you. This is not happening.
Maybe you can forgive, maybe you can't. I think forgiveness is more for you than it is for them. It doesn't mean you have to have them in your life. But I think when you're unhappy in a relationship, you have to be strong enough to tell the person. And sometimes when you're on the receiving end of that, it's really, really hard. So, I think we've been talking for a long time. This is one of my longest episodes ever, but I think it was important, and you shared a lot of really good stuff. If you haven't seen it from the beginning, then you're going to have to go watch it from the beginning because we're about to wrap it up. But I want to say thank you so much for taking time and sharing your insights from a male perspective, because they hear from me all the time from the women's perspective, because I date men. I mean, no tea, date what you want, but I just happen to date men, and I know you happen to date women. And I think that just it's interesting to see the male and female perspective on a topic. And on the last one we did together, we didn't agree on everything. No. But on this episode, we agreed on everything. So that was pretty impressive to me. What did you think?
I think a lot of that has to do because the sensitivity of breaking up, I think it's mutual regardless of the gender. I think it comes down to, it's a human thing. It's just the respect as a human being, regardless of what you are, gender, or anything. Like, I think that's why we can both mutually agree here, because it's just a respect.
Thanks for watching, Phil, and thanks for
Yeah.
that, Fouad. I agree with you. Um,
And thank you
yeah,
to you, thank you to the viewers, and thank you for having me again. I appreciate it. Hopefully, another time we'll do it again. I really do enjoy this. It's nice to speak about these topics because there's a lot of these things. I don't really. I talk to you about it sometimes,
yeah,
through DMs and stuff, but it's not something I have a platform to speak, and it's kind of nice. It's almost therapeutic that coming here to talking
I
to
bet.
you, letting it out is kind of nice, and it feels good to talk about these things and let it out and share the experiences with other people. Um, and yeah, I'm an open book. If anybody ever has questions, feel free. You can reach out to me, and I'll answer a question if you want. So.
Well, if you've been watching, you should know by now. I actually have a lot of new viewers. Subscribe, okay? Over half of you are not subscribed and you're watching this, which I appreciate you watching it, but subscribe also and set your notifications so you know when I come live because I don't hardly know when I'm coming live half the time, but I pop up on here. So set your notifications so you know when I come live. I'm live on Facebook and YouTube. And for now, and I hope you really enjoyed this episode. And I'm glad this felt like therapy for you in a way. It was therapeutic for me too, talking about I never talk about those breakups. And it was good to bring that up, and to share that information because that's something that we all have in common universally, right? Like you were saying, kind of. It's like both men and women, we both have to break up with people and we both go through breakups. And I just happened to notice from my experiences dating this last year that some people don't know how to do it properly. Okay. And I thought we should talk about that a little bit. So if you are in a relationship right now and you're thinking about breaking up with someone, I hope this episode helped you. Don't stay in that situationship if it's not working for you. Don't stay in that relationship if you can't figure it out and work it out. But do definitely consider compassion when you're breaking up with someone and don't ghost them and don't breadcrumb them and be cruel. Just be better. That's what I have to say about it. That's what I have to say about it. Thank you so much, Fouad, for being a
Thank you.
guest. I always love having you. We'll of course do it again. I'll have you with your own podcast sooner or later.
Okay.
That's next. I'm just warming you up.
Okay. All right.
And you have a lot to say, and I think people
I
like to hear
do.
it, judging by how many people watched our last episode
Yeah.
together. So soon
Okay.
you'll have your own podcast. I
All
believe
right.
it.
Okay.
And
I'm
until
open
then,
to it.
I'll
I'm
see
open to
you
the
on Hot
idea.
Topics Live again. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
My pleasure. I'm going to put you in the green room. I'm
Okay.
going to wrap it up, and then I'll come say bye.
Okay.
We love him, don't we? He's so adorable, so sweet. But don't get it twisted. We love also his girlfriend, Audrey. She's very awesome too. So we're a girl's girl and we don't do those kinds of things. So us girls got to stick together, okay? And we have to lift each other up and we have to not be trying to take each other's men and shit like that. It's wrong. All right. We should be able to be trustworthy, I think. And they're awesome and they're cute. And I appreciate her sharing him with me for this podcast. Okay. Because that cuts into her time. Just saying. Anyway, this was a long one. I hope you enjoyed it. And remember to set your notifications so you know when I come live. Definitely like, share, subscribe. If you like pretty pictures and you enjoy pinup, go and follow my pinup journey. You can get this magazine and all the ones that I'm in. I'm in about 7 and more coming up this year. You can get them over on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, right, you can see all my pinup stuff. You can go to my Instagram at Creativity. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up for you so you can see it. But it is in the description of the episode below. And you can follow my pinup journey. I'm just getting started and having so much fun. And I'm on TikTok. I'm on everywhere really, but you can find me here and all of those places, right? And go and support the podcast that way. Like, share, subscribe, set your notifications. I'll be back with another episode. We have some really cool stuff coming up for you. So more episodes of dating after divorce or long-term relationship. More of these and more of the regular Hot Topics Live episodes coming up for you. I know you're going to love them. So set your notifications, go check out the channel, watch the ones you haven't seen, drop some comments, and definitely thank you for watching, Phil. And everyone who didn't comment, you can comment and engage. It's interactive. It is live. So if you're watching in the replay, just set your notification so you know when I'm live. You can drop a message and we can talk to each other. And you can ask questions for my guests and all of that good stuff. Okay. I love you guys. I'll talk to you next time.